I recently discovered this truly amazing game called Chronicon, thanks to everyone recommending it. And now it is my turn to recommend this game to you if you haven't heard about it. Enjoying the video? Consider subscribing or leave a like, it really does help. Hey everyone, this is Thyworm and today I am making a video about Chronicon to tell you all it has to offer, which is a lot. It is one of those games that starts deceptively easy, but around endgame opens up and contains a lot of deep character customization. You're looking at me farming Mythic III here on my warden, zoom. This is really how I like my action RPGs, starting off slow but over time progress into a speed clearing monster, running through maps, hunting for true legendaries and crafting and endlessly upgrading my character. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me properly introduce this game. Chronicon is created by just one developer from Sweden, and this game has been on my wishlist for years. Yes, years, because it apparently launched into early access in 2015, 5 years ago. This guy has been working on Chronicon for over 5 years and it all culminated in a 1.0 release a couple of weeks ago. I know nothing about the early access progress of this one, I only know that the final result is a fantastic game. First topic, the classes. You start by picking a class. There are 4 choices. Templar, a girl with sword and board. Berserker, a guy using his fists. There's a warlock wielding magic, or the warden, a ranged class with bow and arrow. All 4 classes are unique but also share similarities. Primarily when looking at the elements and damage types they use, you see a lot of overlap. Several classes can use lightning or fire, but the main reason for this is itemization, as some of the unique items are generic items and offer synergy with damage types, so from that perspective it makes a lot of sense. There are plenty of archetypes possible as well within these classes, not only based on the damage type you're dealing, but also on other aspects. You can turn something into more of a ranged character with damage bonuses depending on how far you are away from the enemies. You can summon a bunch of companions to fill the screen with your own little army. You can be hybrid and find items that boost both fire and cold damage. The options are basically endless, especially when you take itemization into account. Second, skills and masteries. Each class has 4 skill trees. They are usually themed around one damage type and there is one mastery tree. With my warden that I invested a lot of time in, I went full poison in the druid skill tree, spawning endless mushrooms that explode and kill enemies. I have a Templar that does lightning damage and my Warlock focuses on shadow damage. He will usually start off investing in one skill tree, which is not to be confused with a skill tree in Last Epoch, for example. The skill trees in Chronicon are very similar to how Grim Dawn manages classes. You invest points and by doing that you unlock more abilities and passives. The Mastery tree is independent from the other 4 skill trees. You can regard the Mastery tree as a tree full of passive skill nodes for your character, and you can tweak your character further over here. These passives aren't related to skills mostly, but more to overall action RPG stats like health, mana, reflecting thorns, etc. What is interesting is that you can endlessly level up your mastery tree as well. The character level cap is 100 and you will always have 100 skill points to spend in your skill trees, but the mastery tree you can level up infinitely. I'm around a level 240 mastery on my warden currently. It adds a layer to character customization, and later down the line in endgame the mastery tree is more and more important. It also helps in the sense that you keep feeling that progression. At some point it stops, of course, as you will have spent all the points in the mastery tree, but at that time you are probably investing over 100 hours into your character. Something I really appreciated about Chronicon is that you can respec or edit your skills at any time free of charge. The game gives you total freedom over how you build your character and doesn't impose any penalties, and I honestly wish more games would do this. By interacting with a system like this, you see how tedious and pointless other systems are. The reasoning the devs of those games like Last Epoch or Path of Exile give, that you're not invested in your character without this, is faulty as well in my opinion, and Chronicon proves it. Respecking a character shouldn't be a pointless time sink. And the consequence should not be that you would not feel invested, it just means that you need other systems in place to feel invested in your character, systems that have much more to do with action RPGs, systems revolving around loot, for example, but we'll get to that. When you've done all this, you start by doing the campaign. After creating your character, you're dropped into the campaign where you are reliving the memories of fallen heroes, apparently. I read that on the store page. I didn't pay attention to the story as I was too busy killing monsters and investing in my character. You can choose 5 difficulty levels here, ranging from story to pretty insane, and I found it is a good idea to start on normal and then swap over to heroic rather soon so you drop better loot. I made the switch around level 10, and during the campaign, as I got stronger, I kept raising the difficulty to increase magic find and crafting materials. During the campaign, which brings you to a lot of very colorful and interesting locations, you unlock more and more characters for your home base, the Chronicon. And while completing the campaign, the game slowly opens up to you. I found the campaign overall very enjoyable. It is not too long, maybe around 6 hours or so on my first playthrough. The campaign maps are static, so not procedurally generated, which I think is perfectly fine because you only really need to do it on one character. After completing the campaign, the endgame is unlocked for all new characters. All vendors are available and you can level new characters by just playing maps, called anomalies, instead of doing the campaign. Which brings us to the endgame. As with all good action RPGs, endgame is where the game begins. Chronicon understands this like no other, and the game really opens up after the campaign. Endgame is massive, honestly, so where should I start? Well, I guess with describing what you can do in terms of mapping. Chronicon has maps or rifts. These are procedurally generated, and it calls them anomalies. There are 4 types of anomalies. There is the random anomaly, pretty self-explanatory. Then you have a dungeon anomaly, which consists of 3 dungeon levels and a boss, and most enemies are regular enemies. At the end, a reward and special crafting materials await you. There is an elite dungeon anomaly, also 3 dungeons and a boss, but this time most enemies are elite enemies and it offers different crafting materials. And finally, there is the endless dungeon anomaly, in which you can endlessly farm maps. These 4 versions of anomalies also have their own difficulty level, which determines how much loot and crafting materials they drop. You can pick the difficulty levels I described earlier, but there's a new difficulty level introduced as well, Mythic. And Mythic comes in no less than 15 stages. At Mythic 15, monsters have 2,000,000% increased health. I'm not kidding. And in Endless Dungeon mode, this gets even more insane with eventually hundreds of millions of health percentage increases and trillions of damage. The health numbers are truly ridiculous and so are the damage numbers, but the rewards are there as well. I'm currently farming Mythic III with my warden, where the monsters have around 10,000% increased health. It is the footage you are seeing here. So how does this work exactly? Well, that brings us to itemization. Chronicon has done something really clever with itemization. It elevated getting the right loot to almost a form of art, with very deterministic crafting methods, socketing, enchanting, rerolling affixes, combining different items, and many more alterations you can make to your gear. It is way too much to discuss all of this in a review, but what you can do, for example, is take the unique affix of a really powerful item, remove it from that item, and then put it on another really powerful item. This way you end up with some pretty insane gear. I imbued my set pieces of my mushroom build with a bunch of these runes, as you call them, and it has resulted in some pretty staggering combinations. With enchanting, you can do something similar, as it gives you total control over which affixes you roll on your items. Sockets, same thing. You can find gems and crystals that allow you to create sockets on items and fill those with powerful gems, making your character even stronger. All of this costs crafting materials, of course, which you can farm out in these dungeons, preferably on mythic difficulty, and the higher your difficulty, the more you get. On top of this, you have the basically endless masteries, and all these systems combined create a really fun and engaging gameplay loop. You farm some dungeons, you gain mastery levels, you gain crafting materials, you find very rare loot, and you mix and match all of that into your gear, craft some insane pieces, upgrade your affixes, and deck out your character with the OP equipment you need to take on these difficulty levels. You can repeat this process over and over again, and I already invested over 35 hours in my warden, and it went from a rather slow character with a few abilities to a speedy zoomer in maps, killing every scary one with numerous poisonous mushrooms. Every couple of runs you can feel your character's power increasing, the damage numbers are rising, and character progression is very tangible. Experimentation is promoted by not introducing pointless time sinks, but just allowing us to respec on the fly, so you can see if other skills may work better for your character. It is all very enjoyable. On top of this, the game has a basic but really effective loot filter combined with a toggleable pickup radius. By setting your loot filter and toggle on an auto pickup radius, you can sweep through the levels without having to think about any loot whatsoever and then just dump everything back at the Chronicon. By designing loot this way, by implementing speed, by introducing this level of comfort, the game is just extremely silky smooth to play. The option to rebind every skill to a single key is amazing as well, allowing for even more convenience. More developers should take a page from this design and implement it accordingly. Time for the final section of this video, the longevity of Chronicon. I'm not sure how long this game is going to be fun, to be honest. I already have logged 35 hours of amazing gameplay, honestly, and the game costs 13 euros, which is an absolute steal. And that is on one character with one archetype. I think you could have at least 100 hours of great fun, potentially a lot more. I personally feel that a game should have one top priority. It should be fun to play, and Chronicon is, hands down, it is one of the most enjoyable action RPGs I have played in a while, honestly. And because of that, I don't really mind if the game is pure fun for 100 hours and afterwards you're pretty much done. That is definitely possible with Chronicon, but at least you have spent those 100 hours well, without interacting with any tedious systems or artificial time sinks. At least you have felt progression during all those hours. You got stronger, you demolished all the monsters and felt good about your build. That is to me what matters a lot more than actual playtime. There's a very decent chance you will spend way more than 100 hours into this game, however, and I can definitely see myself doing that while I am waiting for other things to arrive, like the new PoE League or some last epoch updates. I might make some more content for this game as well, because I'm enjoying it so much. Build guides, maybe some guides on endgame crafting. I'm still figuring some things out, but I got the hang of it mostly. And that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoy the videos, ladies and gents. Thanks for watching and making it to the end. See you all soon. Bye bye.